And very good Saturday afternoon to everybody. How's it going? This is the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders, coming at you live right now with an all-new The RCWR Show Weekend Report, live right now on blogtalkradio.com and over at our sister website at infinityoneproductions.com. We can also be heard on Stitcher. Mad shout out to those of you that is checking us out on Stitcher right now. It is September 22nd, 2012, 1 minute past 2 o'clock. I do hope everybody has been having a fantastic weekend so far. Hopefully you all are kicking back, relaxing, enjoying some of this good weather that we are having. Hopefully you've made some plans to go out and see some stuff playing in the theaters. I know we got that new Richard Gere movie that looks like it's pretty freaking awesome right now. I'm definitely trying to get the opportunity to go check that out. I'll probably do it maybe later tonight. I don't know, but definitely looks like a pretty solid movie. Thanks to those of you that's checking out the show right now. We got the chat room that's open right now. Feel free to jump on in there. You can also interact with us during the course of this episode by hitting us up on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. While you're at it, hit us up on Facebook at Infinity One Productions. So, little funny backstory here before we just jump right into things. And it's definitely two quick points that I want to make. So, just endure me for a few minutes here. It's going to be just over in 3 minutes or less here, folks. But one of the things that was kind of awesome was the show today was going to be pre-recorded, and me and the lovely co-producer Tammy, we sat up and we were just really just going all over the place, and it was very solid. We ended up having some serious audio problems as I was playing it back, and we had about an hour, 45 minutes of content, and we could hear my parts fine, but the many parts had came in where she just wasn't able to really, you couldn't really make out what the heck she was saying, and I tried to clean it up, enhance it as best as I could. It just wasn't happening, so I said, wow, Tammy, looks like the show's going to have to be live. She said, okay, well, you're going to be flying solo. And I wasn't really trying to fly solo today because there was a lot of great content that just needed to be covered. And so I said, well, hey, I've been Batman this long. I can keep being Batman. It's no problem at all. And so I said, okay, you know what? I'll go on ahead. I'll do it solo. But then it also got me thinking about what the future needs to be for the Weekend Report edition of the RCWR show. And, you know, we love it to death interacting with you guys. No doubt about that. But this is something new that we're going to be doing from here on out for the Weekend Report. Now, for those of you that always listen to our Tuesday night shows and you listen to the Thursday night shows, you know Tuesday night we cover WWE. Thursday night we cover TNA. We try to just dedicate both of those 2 days out of the week for those respected shows. Unless there's something really major, then it will kind of blend into both episodes. Good example of that, what happened with Jerry Lawler. Notice how on those last week's batch of episodes, Jerry Lawler was brought up. It was only right. It just seemed right to bring the name up since he transcends all wrestling promotions, just the whole industry. Is a freaking icon, okay? So no-brainer right there. So we have those two respected shows for that, where we definitely want to get you all's interaction from what all you had saw on Raw, what all you had saw from Impact Wrestling, whatever wrestling news headlines got you kind of worked up. Now, the future of the Weekend Report edition of the RCWR show is going to go as follows. Now, remember, this is pretty much recapping for those of you that did not see what all had happened during the week. We pretty much nip it in a nutshell. Now, if you want the in-depth look, overall takeaway, then you definitely want to backtrack to that respected episode of the RCWR show and Impact Showdown Radio. But from here on out, the Weekend Report, when it airs, it's just going to be boom, 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 boom. We're just going to do it just like that. Just highlight key points, bring it down just like that. It's going to be a new format. Now, also, we have to make up for the great amount of content that is covered on the Weekend Report, because that's been my main passion since we've been doing this. We want to give you guys more than just wrestling. We are listening to you guys. We hear you guys that sit up and say, can you talk a little bit more about wrestling? Well, we feel you on that. That's why we do our best to cover what all has been happening in entertainment, music. You know, we try to talk about whatever's got you talking, or whatever's buzzing, or whatever we think you should be considering to be talking about when you go back to work the next day or you go back to school, whatever like that. So keeping in mind that we have all this content that needs to be covered on the show, we're not going to take phone calls, not on the Weekend Report. Now, that may upset some people. Some people may not like that. But if you've been checking out the Tuesday and the Thursday night show, then you kind of will appreciate, okay, you know what, that makes a little sense. And, yeah, more content is covered. Not to mention it is a weekend, and, you know, not too many people want to be really sitting up listening to a 2-hour show. 90 minutes, they could probably do it, you know, but that's going to be our goal from here on out. We're going to try to make our point in like 90 minutes or less. As you see, the show says 2 hours, but the goal is 90 minutes. So if we can be done in 90 minutes, that's great. If it goes 5 minutes past that, 10 minutes past that, I'm fine with that. But I want you guys to be able to kick back, relax, and have an enjoyable weekend. So you don't want to be sitting up, listening to a radio show for a whole 2 hours, not on a lovely weekend, right? Well, even if the content is good, you know, and we definitely just want to make sure that you all are able to enjoy your time and we're able to just go through everything. So I definitely just want to take this time out to just mention that. So going forward, you know what to expect. So if you want to interact with us, you can. We just aren't going to be opening up the phone line. So we have the chat room open. We got the Twitter. We got the Facebook. So you can still interact with us. We just won't, only for this show on the weekends, we just won't be opening up the fan lines. So bear that in mind. Let's go on ahead and let's just run right through everything that has been happening this week in wrestling in case you had missed it. Of course, we got to bring up what all had went down on WWE Raw this past Monday night. And if you missed it, you definitely had missed a pretty solid episode, as one of the main highlights from this past Monday night was seeing John Cena team up with the World Heavyweight Champion Sheamus to take on the team of Alberto Del Rio and WWE Champion CM Punk. Now, this basically was the result of Cena kicking things off, coming out, telling Paul Heyman and the WWE Universe that he felt that he was screwed out of his match at Night of Champions, where, remember, folks, it had ended on a very controversial pin. And John Cena, he basically questioned the way the match had ended, whether or not CM Punk was really fine with holding on to the championship under all this type of... And Paul Heyman, he's pretty much like, yeah, he's fine with it. And we saw this referee come into play, Chad Patton. And Chad Patton, John Cena, turns out they're very good friends. John Cena would actually say to Chad Patton he respects him as a colleague, respects him as a friend. He knows that Chad called it right down the middle. Doesn't have a problem with that, but he feels that he needs to have that rematch against CM Punk, and he wanted it there on that night. Well, Alberto Del Rio would soon come crashing the scene, and he would sit up and say if anybody deserved a rematch, it should be him, because Booker T, the SmackDown GM, screwed him in the last few seconds there, right before the bell had rung for his match for that title, as Booker T came to a conclusion that the bro kick would be reinstated. And that's pretty much Alberto Del Rio's argument. Well, AJ Lee would come into the picture and she would shake things up in a big way as she would make this tag team match where CM Punk teams up with Del Rio to take on the World Heavyweight Champion Sheamus and John Cena. Strong, solid match that it was, but this match would also end in controversy. As key point right here, towards the end, everybody was just going in the ring. Everybody is just doing their finishers. It would end with John Cena giving the attitude adjustment to the WWE Champion and then going for the pin. Now, right before the referee's hand hit that mat for 3, we see CM Punk raise his leg up on the ropes. At that point, it should have been a break, but the referee does not see this, and he counts to 3. As a result of that, we see the team of John Cena and Sheamus win. Now, of course, post-match, we see CM Punk, Paul Heyman, they are arguing with this referee, and they are telling him, hey, you made a bad call, this wasn't right, and they just were bickering and heckling him to end the episode. Now, I'm looking at this referee. I've never laid eyes on him before. I'm noticing his slick-back-looking gel type of Superman hair that he has going on, as it was jet black, and he's got a Ken doll face. He's got a pretty boy face going on, is what I'm saying here. And I'm saying to myself, something doesn't quite look right with this guy. I've seen him before. This guy looks very familiar. Turns out, unfortunately, I don't have his name, but I was able to do some research and find out that this guy actually used to be wrestling, or probably still is wrestling, down in WWE's developmental plan in FCW, and he's been a multiple-time champion down there to some extent. So this guy is definitely being brought in to what I believe strongly will be an eventual physical angle. So it would not surprise me if come next Monday night we see the WWE champion get his hands on this referee and just really, really proceeds to try to beat the crap out of him. Of course, one of the other takeaways that we had saw from Raw this past Monday night was the primetime players. Darren Young, Titus O'Neil, they stepped up in a big way as they had interfered in a Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara match, as they were able to pick up their victories as they took on the team of Epico and Primo, but they were not able to celebrate it not that long, as the primetime players would come into the ring and they would attack the masked luchadors, sending a very powerful message to the WWE Universe and the boys in the back that as far as they are concerned, they are done taking a back seat. They are done having things be taken away from them, as they are still reeling from losing their number one contender spots to take on the tag team champions. And from here on now, they are going to be the ones to do all of the taking. So, message sent loud and clear. And, of course, one of the other key points for Raw this past Monday night, we had got that update on the health status of WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler, who is recovering just fine. He actually had touched ground in Memphis, and it's revealed that Michael Cole will be having a one-on-one interview with the King coming up on Raw this Monday night. And one of my favorite segments of the night was seeing the lovely Eve take on Beth Phoenix, as Layla was at ringside watching, and you're saying to yourself, are we possibly going to get Eve and Layla going at it one more time? But, you know, seeing all this happen with Eve, it definitely had brought up a very interesting question into my mind, and I've actually been working on a piece off and on this week that I hope to have up on the site in just a little bit. But, you know, this is the point that I want to make right here. Eve, and I love this. I don't want to spend too much time on this. And it's so funny because the original cut version of this that me and co-producer Tammy had, I mean, we spent a really good amount of time talking about this, and we made some damn good, valid points. But in a nutshell, I'm looking at what's happening with Eve right now, and I'm saying to myself, you know what? Eve could very well just be the last savior of the women's division. And I'm saying this because I'm looking at what all has been happening right now with Eve. I love the fact that she's the Divas champion. I love the fact that she has that backstory angle going on with Caitlyn, who basically had got a Nancy Kerrigan. If y'all don't get that, Google it. It's your best friend. And we see this little rivalry that's been slowly brewing between her and Layla. And I'm just taking all of this and I'm saying to myself, isn't it amazing, folks? Isn't it amazing how earlier last year, or late last year, but going into early this year, AJ Lee seemed like a very hot freaking commodity, didn't she, folks? She was all that, a bag of chips and a drink. I mean, sister had it going on here, as she was involved in the whole Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Kane angle there going on, and she just skyrocketed. And it just took her all the way up to Raw GM. And then what happened, folks? We see a slow decline, as it looks like now we've got too much AJ. And it just seems like week after week we're starting to see AJ Lee take a backseat. And I'm noticing this, and at the same time I'm noticing Eve is going back up. I don't know if you guys are peeping that out too, but it just seemed like first it was Eve, then it went to AJ, now it's back to Eve. As let's not forget here, and this is one of the things that I look for just off the break. I don't overanalyze it. For me, it just comes naturally. I'm paying attention to the story continuation here, and I look at that continuity there. And I'm saying to myself, okay, wait a minute. A couple of weeks back, we had Vicky Guerrero pimp slap the hell out of AJ, not once, not twice, but at least 3 times. And AJ was not able to do anything. Now, let's just recap here. We just had the WWE Board of Directors say to AJ Lee, hey, you can't be putting your hands on WWE talent. You're supposed to be a GM. You need to act like it. You need to act like a professional. And we see Vicky Guerrero just keep pimp smacking the hell out of her. And you're saying to yourself, wow, what the hell? And we see AJ just standing there in the middle of the ring screaming, and she's grabbing a steel chair, and she's just going to the mat. And there was no continuation after that. I'm expecting maybe Vicky Guerrero is going to continue to press the buttons of AJ until eventually we see her have some type of match with the girl, right? Makes a lot of sense. It's like it gets abandoned. So we see AJ, she's taking the back seat. Eve is back on the rise. I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, with everything that's been happening with Eve, and she is a great wrestler, she seems to be just getting better and better in time, is it very possible that Eve could be the savior of the Divas division? And the answer to that, from everything that I'm seeing so far, the answer to that is a definite yes, as I can't help but kick back and reminisce about the days where we had Lita, where we had Trish Stratus, where we had Mickie James, where we had the lovely Michelle McCool, where we had Tori Wilson, the days where we had Ivory, the days where we had the Miss Southern Belle, Jackie, Miss Jackie, Chyna. I'm looking at all these names of women that have wrestled in the WWE. And I can go even further back than that, but I'm just going to definitely stick with those names that I mentioned. And I can remember a time where you actually felt invested into seeing what those women had in store for you in the ring. It was okay to see what they were going to do. It was okay to listen to them cut promos and all that. And, I can't help but compare that era to what we see now. And, yes, without a doubt, WWE's mentality, they are now more concerned with the looks than the in-ring ability. And time after time, again, it's come back to bite them in the ass. And it's very unfortunate because we see them bring in these women that don't know diddly squat about wrestling. And they have this cheerleading background or whatever, and we see them go into the WWE. They get molded, they get crafted, and they're there for about 3, 4, 5 years, and then all of a sudden they realize that that type of line of work just really is not for them. Maybe they need a more reduced schedule. They decide that they want to go into other endeavors, and they basically roll out. We never really see them again. And it's gotten to the point right now where WWE is very frustrated, and they want to try to go back to their old roots. Well, who said that you can't have beauty and skill at the same time? If it was me as an employer, I would rather deal with somebody that has the years of experience and be willing to pay them a modest amount of money than to bring in somebody that I have to train and basically mold into to be able to do what it is I need for them to do. I'd rather go with the first option. And so, I'm glad that WWE, they now realize that, this really isn't such a good idea going with some of these divas that really have no wrestling background. But you're a couple of years too late, and given what all has been happening with the Divas division currently, I'm definitely looking at what's happening with Eve. This could be the Divas division one last hoorah, and if things cannot be done with Eve as the champion, as they got the right person, fans don't like her. That's exactly what she needs. She needs that momentum right now. If they aren't able, they being the WWE writers, they are not able to really capitalize off of this, then yeah, the Divas division, it might as well cease to exist. And that job is definitely going to be a little bit more difficult for them because unfortunately, from what we've been able to gather, it very well looks like Beth Phoenix could be leaving WWE, as it's being said that she's going to be tying up loose ends and looks to be done with the organization sometime before the end of October. Now, we definitely are going to be staying on top of this story, and we'll definitely report to you all the results as, we're able to get it. Any information, we'll definitely let you guys know about it as it becomes available. But, just to think of the idea of a Beth Phoenix not being in the WWE anymore, I must admit, first thing that comes out in my mind is not properly utilized. I mean, she's young, she's beautiful, she, wrestles very well. I remember the first time I saw Beth Phoenix come onto the scene, I said to myself, wow, not only is she strong, not only does she have beauty, she wrestles very well. This is like a new, sane, clean version of China. This is exactly what we need right here. And she was just a freaking phenomenon early on in the WWE, but it just seemed like after a certain amount of time, she just started being neglected there. And it would not surprise me if maybe she might be leaving feeling as though she's not being properly utilized, as it's being said that she's thinking about going into acting, thus the main reason why she's been losing all of that muscle mass. Who knows? I don't like all that type of speculation, but if her heart really is set on leaving the organization, I think that honestly it could not come at a better time. And, yeah, maybe she should jump ship. I mean, unless WWE can put out some type of a lucrative deal and make some type of commitment to her to let her know that they have big things in store for the Divas division, that they are trying to repackage it, then I really do not see any reason for her to stick around, especially if she won't be one of those focal points. So the job, unfortunately, for Eve being possibly the last savior of the Divas division is definitely going to become a little bit more difficult minus Beth Phoenix, as really there's not hardly that many divas in there that can really throw it down. So definitely be staying on top of that. Of course, in other WWE wrestling-related news, John Cena is unfortunately going to be out for the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we had reported on Tuesday night. Actually, we had made a rare Monday night appearance this past week, as we had brought to you guys the Monday night edition of the RCWR show. We had reported how John Cena is expected to be out for the next 3 to 4 weeks. He was dealing with some nagging elbow injury. Looks like he had got some bone spurs cleaned out of the area as he went to go see the infamous Dr. James Andrews, who is a very well-established doctor. Definitely a very well-respected reputation for patching up the WWE wrestlers. Of course, one of the main wrestlers that he has worked with not once but twice, definitely a few times. He's worked with Triple H when he's had those quad injuries. And definitely the go-to doctor for not just WWE, but the go-to doctor for all of major sports athletes. And originally it was said that John Cena was expected to be out for 6 to 8 weeks, but luckily we would get an update on that would say no, it's actually going to be 3 to 4 weeks. He should be able to make it back in time for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view against CM Punk. I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, why risk it? Because it's obvious John Cena is the face of the WWE. Do you really want to take that gamble and possibly risk some type of injury and thus he's out even longer? You're really, really pushing it there. I would just go on ahead and just have him come back 8 weeks later. It just really makes more sense to me. Now, I know a lot of people were kind of looking at this, and when they first heard it, they thought to themselves, does this mean John Cena is going to be done on WWE television? No, they can easily work around that. Quite honestly, they can even sit up and have John Cena take a few bumps. He just can't sit up and take the damage to that arm that had got surgery. But other than that, no, I definitely do not expect him to disappear from television. I wouldn't be too surprised if he popped up next week, and pretty much I would expect for him to just come out and do a whole bunch of talking, quite honestly. And, of course, that is your recap of what all had happened for WWE Raw, basically in a nutshell, just the key highlights there. Of course, if you want the more in-depth takeaway from what had happened on this past Monday night's Raw, and you want to know about the match breakdown, segment breakdown, and get those reactions, you definitely want to check out the Tuesday night edition of the RCWR show. Always comes at you live Tuesday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 Pacific, on blogtalkradio.com and over at our sister website at infinityoneproductions.com. Let's switch gears up a little bit here now, and let's get you guys caught up on the very latest on what all had happened on TNA Impact Wrestling. Give you all the key highlights in a nutshell, as one of the main key pieces was we had saw the immortal Hulk Hogan continuing his program with those damn aces and eights, as one Joseph Park, who had did a solid job for him last week protecting his daughter Brooke to make sure that no harm had came to her. He revealed that he had some key sensitive evidence that was going to blow the identities of the aces and eights wide open, and Hulk Hogan was eagerly anticipating this new evidence on Thursday night's Impact Wrestling, as it was the Open Fight Night edition. And Joseph Park would unfortunately not be able to reach the destination of meeting with Hulk Hogan, as he was intercepted and kidnapped by those damn aces and eights who took him prisoner at one of their locations, their hidden turf, whatever you want to call it, their man cave, and they had tried to do negotiations with the Hulkster saying, look, you come to us on our turf next week by yourself, and we'll let Joseph Parks go. Well, Hulk Hogan would accept these negotiations, demand that Joseph be released, but they were able to take a look at this evidence that Joseph Park had, and this evidence was in the form of none other than a laptop where they gave Joseph his props. They said that he's been a busy little bee, as he was able to crack the identities of them, and they would destroy that laptop. From there, we unfortunately saw a very poorly executed segment where Joseph had revealed that he still had all the information on aces and eights, as it was all in his head. As from there, we then hear the Bane-like character in Aces and Eights tell one of his henchmen to take care of that, as a hammer was taken to the head of Joseph Park. Yes, folks, a actual hammer was taken to the head of Aces and Eights. I'm not going to feed too much into that. I definitely criticized the hell out of this segment that had happened on Thursday night's Impact Showdown Radio. You definitely want to go backtrack into the archive sections, pull that up. Very solid. Very rare do I retract a rating for a show that I give on here, because I like to report to you guys with 100% accuracy that, yes, this is where I stand on this. I don't like being a flip-flopper. Now, something about the whole Hulk Hogan thing, it was just rubbing me the wrong way. And I know initially when we were done doing Impact Showdown Radio, I said, you know what, let me go on ahead. Let me just let it go a day. I'll watch the episode again, and if I still feel the same way, okay, I'll stand behind my rating. If not, that I need to say something on Saturday's show, so this is where we are right now. I watched that Open Fight Night edition again. And just the whole amount of times that we just kept seeing Hulk Hogan pop up, it seemed like Hulk Hogan popped up for at least 5-6 segments. And just the whole Aces and Eights thing, I mean, he was coming off like Sonny Crockett in Miami Vice, like Magnum P.I. I mean, it was just too much for me. I believe on Impact Showdown Radio, I had gave Impact Wrestling an 8 out of 10. This is probably going to be my one and only time this calendar year that I'm going to retract a rating. But I would have to give Impact Wrestling for this past Thursday night a definite 100% accurate 6.5 out of 10. It was just too much Hulk Hogan segments for me. You know, they really needed to tone it down just a bit. Of course, you want to talk about overkill. Folks, we definitely got to talk about Friday Night Smackdown in just a bit, as that was definite overkill. Decent show, but definitely overkill. But let's finish up touching up on this past Thursday night's Impact Wrestling, where we also saw TNA Gut Check contestant Evan Markinopoulos get his tryout match, as he was defeated by Doug Williams. Very strong effort right there from the young man, though. 18 years old, has been wrestling since the age of 13. Definitely looked very impressive. Should be interesting to see how the TNA judges are going to vote in his favor come next week. We also saw the continuation of Tara and the Knockouts champion, Ms. Tessmacher, as the development continued there, as Tara had turned on Tessmacher just last week. Well, she would explain her actions this week by saying to the fans that it is because of them that Tessmacher is the Knockouts champion because they want TNA, and I'm not talking about the organization, folks. Wink, wink. And we would hear Tara say that she was able to finally see the light because of her boyfriend that's in Los Angeles, California, who is a bit of a celebrity. Now, as soon as I heard this happen, or as soon as I heard her say this, I'm saying to myself, could she be talking about who I think she's talking about? I said, nah, let me sleep on it, and I'll think about it a little bit more later. And just the way that she said it, I'm saying to myself, that would be a huge pickup if they did get this guy. And I'm very happy to say to you guys, I strongly believe, and hey, if I'm wrong, it is okay. I don't mind when I'm wrong. It just lets me know that, we are being given curveballs, okay? So I love it when I'm wrong. It's like, hey, all right, cool. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, who lives in California that's a wrestler? Okay, Joey Ryan, but that's not really quite, let's go with something else. No disrespect to Joey Ryan either, but, that just really wouldn't make a lot of sense there. Let's go with somebody else. John Morrison, the shaman of sexy. This guy actually lives in Los Angeles, California. And he's been just going around the circuit out there. He's been doing stand-up comedy. He's been doing improv shows. He's just been all over the place. Now, I know a little while back, Melina had tried to talk him into going with TNA, and we know that last that we had heard of John Morrison, he was talking about, he just needed to rest for a little bit, recharge his batteries, but that eventually he'd come back into the WWE. I'm not so really sure about that. For some weird reason, I just don't see a comeback for John Morrison. I think that at this point, where John Morrison is right now in his career, I just feel that given how he wrestles, that style that he has, he definitely needs that time to be able to recuperate, spend time with his family, get things in order at home. TNA would definitely be a very strong fit for him, especially with the way they are structuring things now, where you're basically paid per appearance, per TV appearance, per pay-per-view appearance. This would definitely be right up his alley. That way he can still meet all his other commitments. So definitely I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, yeah, she's definitely got to be doing something with Joey Ryan. So don't be too surprised within the next coming weeks you happen to hear Tara keep just talking more and more and more about her boyfriend. I mean, if they do this right and not make it overkill, I would expect this to be about maybe 4 to 6 weeks worth of hyping up before he finally arrives. That's if they do it right. Now, could it happen sooner? It depends on how the storyline is executed. Can they do it as early as Bound for Glory? It's possible. It's possible. But we shall see, folks. And, of course, one of the other key points that we saw from Impact this past Thursday night was the television title being mentioned as, quote, Mike Tenay. Next week on TNA Impact, the television championship will be decided. Could it be possible that we're going to get a new television champion, or is it possible Devon will be returning? All eyes are definitely going to be on that particular segment right there. It's got a lot of people talking right now. And one of the other key points, we saw Jeff Hardy interfere post-match as Bully Ray was able to pick up a victory over Austin Aries. That's right, Jeff Hardy. He came to the aid of the TNA World Heavyweight Champion as Bully Ray was looking to proceed to do a serious beatdown on the TNA World Heavyweight Champion and try to put himself into that spot of being one of those top contenders definitely a very solid angle right here. And like I said on Impact Showdown Radio, I definitely love how Bully Ray is still involved into the mix, even though he's already had his opportunity as he was in the Bound for Glory tournament. But overall, this past Thursday night's Impact, definitely, like I said, I'm standing behind that rating that I gave. Definitely a 6.5 out of 10. There was just not enough wrestling, unfortunately. Only 4 matches, a lot of backstage skits, just dominating by Hulk Hogan. But, surprisingly, folks, WWE Raw and TNA Impact Wrestling, they actually ended up doing very good this week as far as the ratings go, as WWE Raw, they had managed to pull a overall rating of 2.93, so that's pretty good news for them right there. And TNA Impact rating, they actually did a 1.01 rating, so both shows are up as opposed to what went down last week. As this week numbers are slightly up, so they both are continuing to move in the right direction right there. Good news for both companies for their respective episodes this week. Well, we're going to go on ahead right now, and we're going to take a very brief commercial break, and then when we come right back, we'll get you guys caught up on the very latest of what all had happened on SmackDown as the Rated R superstar Edge made his return to the blue brand. Definitely was a very sweet homecoming right there. We'll get you guys caught up on the fallout from SmackDown, and we'll also get you guys caught up on the very latest and what all had happened in entertainment news. And we got that review that's going to be coming up for the Dave Mattews Band new album, Away from the World. Definitely going to let you know if it is living up to the hype right now. You definitely want to stick around for that. We also got a review of the new Resident Evil 6 demo that was released in the marketplace on Xbox Live, PlayStation Networks just earlier this week. Yours truly, I played it. I'll definitely give you my takeaway from it, what's working so far, what's not quite working, and we'll get you guys a review of the new Double Dragon Neon game. It's a revamped up version of the 2D side-scrolling original that you all gamers grew up loving. You definitely appreciate the review for that. So the show is just getting started. We got so much more content that we got to cover. So we'll take a brief commercial break, then we'll come right back. We will jump right into all this. You're listening to the RCWR Show Weekend Report. We'll be coming right back, folks. Do hang tight.
Tired of those wrestling websites that give you redirects, spyware, weird pop-ups? How about those misleading headlines? Instead of hitting the keyboard in frustration, why not visit InfinityOneProductions.com? Infinity One is the source for wrestling-related news and so much more without all the hassle. Visit InfinityOneProductions.com. Your keyboard will thank you.
Hey guys, Lee Sanders here with the RCWR Show, and I'd like to take this time out to tell you about 1 or 2 quick apps that I think you should check out when you get a free moment. First app I'd like to recommend to you is an app from Stitcher. Now, Stitcher allows you to be able to play all our episodes of the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown on your portable devices, such as an Android phone, Kindle Fire, iPad, you name it, it'll be able to play it. So definitely highly recommend that you check that out. It's available for free in the App Store. Stitcher, new and smart way to play radio. Also, another cool app that I'd like to recommend to you all is a new app that came out not too long ago from Apple. That's right, Apple has recently come out with a free podcast app. Now, this app is really cool, folks, because after we are done doing our shows, all you have to do is just subscribe to our episodes. And you can do this by downloading this new free podcast app. All you have to do, visit the App Store on your iPhone or iPad and just search podcast. Once the app is downloaded, you can then type in the name of our shows, the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown, and you'll be able to subscribe. It's that easy. So you have 2 cool free apps that you can check out and take all our episodes with you on the go. So get to it already.
All right, and we are back. This is the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders, and you're listening to the RCWR Show Weekend Report. We got Zed. He's paying attention to what all is going on in the chat room right now. And while we were on that little commercial break there, Zed had pointed out to me, hey, Dave had this to say with regards to the calls. And Dave, he actually brought up a good point. He said, I was going by what you said this past Thursday. You said you would be taking calls today. Yeah, we actually had a roundtable discussion after Impact Showdown Radio, and I just had very great concerns for the weekend show, and I'm saying to myself, you know what? Because the pattern that I've been noticing, and I can't stress it enough, we appreciate you guys that call into the show on Tuesday and Thursday nights. We do. But I just kind of feel like the future of the Weekend Report edition, there's just so much content that needs to be covered. And it needs to just be boom, 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 as just, off that, cover something else, that to take the phone calls. And I didn't really realize it until I actually really thought about it. Unfortunately, we've been doing radio for about, I believe we have 7 months under our belt now. So, it's still a new experience for us. We're still learning stuff as we go along. And I'm like Captain Kirk over here. I'm at the helm. I'm just manning this ship, and I'm saying to myself, you know what, there's so much content we got to cover. We need to just have it be about that and just recapping what's going on and not really being so keen on opening up the fan lines. And, there's wrestling radio shows that's out there that actually don't even open up the fan lines to get reactions. It's just pretty much you kick back, you listen to what they have to say, and, that's pretty much it. A lot of them, they don't believe in that whole Twitter and Facebook. They don't really push it like the way that we try to push it. It's just pretty much you tune in, you listen to them. That's pretty much it. You don't get to interact with them. You don't get no nod. There's nothing. We still want to try to keep that interaction on our weekend report, but at the same time, there's so much content. And, quite honestly, we appreciate, your comment that you had made there in the chat room, but, no, the show it's going to remain the type of format that it is right now because, it gives us something excited to talk about, and it gives those that sit up, that check out. We actually have listeners that just check out this episode on Saturdays because they get all of their fixings and more, and they really just come away feeling like they either learned a lot or there was just so much that was covered that they weren't even aware was going on. So, no, the format is just going to remain the same, but with regards to what all, has been going on with the content and all that, no, it's, we're just doing it for time restraint purposes. So, good question in the chat room as always, but, yeah, that's where I stand on that. But thanks for that comment. We appreciate that. So let's talk about what happened on WWE Smackdown here. So we saw the return of the Rated R superstar Edge, and I must say it was very exciting to see Edge come back. I missed the guy. I love Edge. I'm an Edge head fan. I love the guy. And it was nice seeing him come out, and I like his haircut, I must admit. I'm looking at him, and I'm saying to myself, as he comes down to the ring, I'm saying it's only a matter of time before we see Triple H come on down the ring. I mean, they really are looking kind of similar right now, these two guys. And I'm saying to myself, where's Triple H? How are we going to get him back on TV and explain the new haircut? I wonder. And Edge, he was just selling the hell out of the whole Kane, Daniel Bryan, and I was just really liking this because we see Edge recall the fact that now that he's been away from WWE for a long period of time, he's able to start watching it again as a fan, and he just could not wrap his brain around what all was happening with Kane and Daniel Bryan as he shows a clip of them hugging, and Edge is pretty much petrified by what all he's seeing. He's not really liking this. We see Daniel Bryan come down to the ring, and I'm saying to myself as I see Daniel Bryan come out, man, has Daniel Bryan ever faced Edge one-on-one? And I'm like really thinking about it, and I definitely got to do some homework here, but off the top of my head, to my knowledge, I don't recall these two guys locking it up. If they did, trust me, I'll definitely know about it because I'm going to find out eventually. But I was just loving the exchange of words between these two guys, and we saw Daniel Bryan. It was just a really awesome segment right here. That's all I can say. You can't really describe it. You just would have had to watch it. Definitely a great, solid moment. We see Kane come on down, and that's where it really got funny because Edge, he is just pretty much saying to Kane, hey, look, I understand exactly why Daniel Bryan is doing the anger management thing, but Kane, you're supposed to be the big red monster. What the hell is going on here, man? You're supposed to be, the freaking fire-breathing son of a bitch. What's going on here? And Edge would just recall all the bad things that he's done to Kane over the years, and Kane is like, yes, I'm very well aware, but you know what? I have an answer for that. And Kane wanted to hug it out. And we see Damian Sandow come out, and he is just interrupting all this. And that's where things start getting very interesting, folks, because we are then informed that it's going to be Damian Sandow taking on the big red monster Kane. Now, Daniel Bryan would interfere in this match, and as a result of that, we would see Damian Sandow pick up the win. Now, later on, we would see a hot-headed Kane want to try to seek retaliation on Bryan. As Dr. Shelby was backstage, he was on hand. He calmed everything down. He said to Kane he would try to see if maybe Daniel Bryan could have a match with whoever, as he was going to bring it up to Booker T there. And later on, we would see Daniel Bryan in action as he would take on Cody Rhodes. Now, Kane would interfere in this match, and as a result of that, Cody Rhodes would pick up the victory. Backstage segment, one of many where we saw Kane and Daniel Bryan. We see Kane and Daniel Bryan. They are going back and forth off in the distance. We see Cody Rhodes, Damian Sandow. They're snickering. They're loving what's happening. And we see Daniel Bryan, Kane. They go up to them, and they pretty much challenge them. So now we have a tag team match that's set for the night, as it'll be the team of Bryan and Kane taking on Sandow and Cody Rhodes. And I'm just looking at everything that was happening because it was not SmackDown. It was the Kane and Daniel Bryan show. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, no, not again, because now here's a case where WWE, if they aren't careful, they could possibly go overkill. And I definitely could not help but look at this past Friday Night Smackdown and say that myself that this was definitely a bit overkill with Daniel Bryan and Kane. We did not need them pretty much for every single segment throughout the night. I thought the Hulk Hogan and Aces and Eights was bad from Impact Wrestling this Thursday night. No, what was happening with Kane and Daniel Bryan was just as bad. It was worse. And I'm saying to myself, this is exactly what WWE has done time and time again. Did you guys just not learn from what had happened with AJ? If you go at it too hard and you just put it all in the fans' face, they eventually are not going to want to see this anymore, and they want something new. So I must admit, I did like the way it ended, because we would actually see these two tag teams go at it as tag team lumberjacks surrounded the ring. Oh, yeah, tag team lumberjack match. How can you can't even wrap your brain around that, folks? I know, right? You'd actually have to see it to believe it, but we had the tag team of Tyson Kidd and Justin Gabriel. They're around the ring. We see the primetime players, Titus O'Neil, Darren Young. They are around the ring. We see the Usos, Jay and Jimmy Uso. They're around at ringside as well. And you know what their job is. Anybody gets on the outside, they beat them up, they send them back in. And we see critical point in this match. Cody Rhodes, he takes a steel chair to Kane. And Daniel Bryan, he tries to help Kane out, and they just proceed to take the steel chair to the back of Cody Rhodes. They send him out of the ring. But then, probably one of the greatest spots of the whole freaking night, folks, we see Damian Sandow just get chair shot after 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 chair shot to that back. And it was just an awesome moment to see right here. Damian Sandow got tore up from the floor up. But Kane and Daniel Bryan, they were not done here, folks, as they proceeded to just go after the other tag teams. And Kane, he'd send them into the ring. Daniel Bryan, he just went at work with that steel chair. Kane would soon join him, and they just gave everybody a steel chair beating to end the night. Definitely a very strong finish, just dominated by Kane and Daniel Bryan. I like how the payoff was at the end, but the story getting to that point, I just felt it was a bit too much overkill. I hope that after this week, WWE scales back just a little bit and just keep giving us those little bits and pieces like they were doing weeks prior. You know how it is. You have too much of something, you know, it's kind of like having too much candy. You eat too much, you start to get a little sick, you get a little nauseous, you might puke. You know, you got to just nibble on just the right amount. Of course, one of the other key highlights we had saw from SmackDown this past Friday night, we saw Antonio Cesaro dump his girlfriend, Asuka Anna, after she had cost him a match against Santino Marella. That's right. A little bit of a miscommunication here, as we saw Asuka Anna, she was trying to grab Santino's sock from the mat, and Santino, Cesaro, they're getting it on, and between one of the two guys, I believe it was Cesaro, he ended up bouncing off of the ropes, and poor Asuka Anna, she somehow got into the ring and she twisted her knee, and the referee's trying to make sure she's okay. Cesaro, he's like, what are you doing in here? You need to get out. Well, we see Santino come up from behind, and he's able to pick up a pin, get the victory that way, and Cesaro, he would lash out by dumping his girlfriend Asuka Anna in 5 different languages. So pretty awesome little piece right there. And I'm looking at that right there, as Santino had picked up that victory right there. That definitely would put him in the nomination to get another shot at Antonio Cesaro for that United States Championship belt, I would think. But other than that, pretty much the only other major thing that had happened on SmackDown from Friday night, we had saw Heath Slater take on Brodus Clay. And in this one, it ended very shockingly, as we had saw Jinder Mahal, and look who returns to the blue brand, Drew McIntyre, proceed to beat down on Brodus Clay. That's right. We even saw Heath Slater get in on this. It was 3-on-1. You're saying to yourself, okay, is this just a coincidence, or does the three of these guys have something going on here? definitely a very solid segment right there. And I'm saying to myself, if we are not looking at possibly a new stable here, just what exactly are we looking at? And furthermore, can we expect maybe a Ryback to possibly come to the aid of, one, Brodus Clay, who surprisingly was not on SmackDown this Friday night? Of course, we had saw Sheamus and Randy Orton defeat Dolph Ziggler and Alberto Del Rio in a tag team match where, yes, once again, folks, we had saw Alberto Del Rio suffer a defeat at the hands of Sheamus. But, you know, it was really nice seeing Alberto Del Rio in a backstage segment with Booker T. It was just nice seeing something very fresh, and surprisingly, me and lovely co-producer Tammy both were saying the same thing when we were looking at this. We said, you know what all had happened with Alberto Del Rio, Booker T, when we compared it to what all had happened throughout the night, as it was just pretty much dominated by Kane and Daniel Bryan, we were more into those exchange of words between Del Rio and Booker T than just seeing the whole thing happen with those tag team champions, as they got really heated in that backstage segment, as Alberto Del Rio, he feels as though Booker T screwed him out of a proper shot of a World Heavyweight Championship match against Sheamus at the Night of Champions pay-per-view. And we just saw Booker T sit up. He's standing his ground, and he's letting him know, if you can't deal with it, then you don't need to be in this line of work. And, you know, I love this storyline that's just been playing out between these two. I would hope that if continued, we could eventually see these two guys lock it up. I definitely would love to see these two get it on. But definitely a very decent episode of SmackDown. Definitely better than what we had saw from Impact Thursday night. But again, a little bit overkill on the Kane and Daniel Bryan, but still a very solid episode nonetheless. And as soon as the ratings for SmackDown this past Friday is available, we'll definitely be reporting it to you all. So make sure that you're paying attention to our website at infinityOneProductions.com. Also on Facebook, Twitter. As soon as we come across that information, we'll definitely put it out there and let you know how they've been doing. But ratings-wise, SmackDown, they just continue to remain consistent in the ratings. I know we'll have a overall recap for SmackDown coming in the next 2 weeks, but so far they've been able to stay around the 1.89 to 1.93 rating. Been very consistent all of these weeks. They've been continuing to do a very solid job, especially in that Friday night time slot. You know, there used to be a time where if you had that Friday night time slot of 8 to 10, it's 50-50 that it could work in your favor, because so many people are going out on a Friday night, they're going to the clubs, they're getting their drink on, they're hanging out with friends, whatever. So really nice to see that SmackDown is able to keep that consistency going there. Of course, you definitely want to make sure that you check out all the wrestling-related news that we cover on the RCWR show, Tuesday night edition, as well as Impact Showdown Radio. I definitely can't stress it enough. We cover so much ground on there that it's pretty amazing. And, you know, one of the things that we had brought up on Impact Showdown Radio this past Thursday night was the fact that Matt Morgan had returned. Yeah, Matt Morgan had returned to a house show. And turns out he's been working the crowd the whole time. He's been working the crowd for about 2-3 months now, as he had put out there that it looked like he was going to be returning to the WWE. Well, he actually re-signed with TNA 2 months ago, and he's been working the crowd ever since. Not to mention, we had also talked about Jeff Hardy and his surprising new rise in TNA all of a sudden, as he had just came out of nowhere. It was definitely a very great in-depth look. So right after you're done checking out this episode, make sure you check it out on the archive section Also up on iTunes, Zune Marketplaces. Definitely won't be disappointed right there. So let's switch gears up a little bit now, and let's go into entertainment and get you guys covered on what all you might have missed, everything that has happened since last we were on the air, as a lot of good things has been happening entertainment-wise. And, of course, if we're going to talk about entertainment, we got to go strong, and we got to talk about Led Zeppelin. That's right. Now, Led Zeppelin, surviving members, that is John Paul Jones, guitarist Jimmy Page, singer Robert Plant, they have revealed that there is going to be a DVD that will be released in October. And, of course, this DVD is titled Celebration Day. Now, this is the DVD that is covering Led Zeppelin's 2007 reunion, as they had played at the O2 London facility back then. You guys know what I'm talking about, the London O2 Arena. A lot of great bands have stopped by there. It was definitely a very solid night right here, as Led Zeppelin, they had played 16 sets, and it's going to be released in theaters on just over 1,000 screens on October 17th. Now, it'll later come out on audio and video formats November 19th. So if you've been patiently waiting for this concert to properly get the justice that it needs to be given, if you are sitting on those bootleg copies, you definitely want to just trash those. You want to get ready for the real thing, because they've cleaned it up, the audio, all that. It is on point. I feel sorry for you guys that sat up and you actually got conned into buying bootleg versions of this performance on DVD and CD, as you got had. It just takes a matter of time before the boys sit up and they actually release their concert. You knew it was going to come sooner or later. We just didn't know it was going to be this long to take. But surprisingly, in other Led Zeppelin news, as they were at a press conference talking about this, reporters had asked them, is this a sign that Led Zeppelin is back together, that you all are going to do something again? And they would not outright say no, as they kept dodging the question. So could this be seeds of a possible taste of things to come? Might we see a newly reformed Led Zeppelin and maybe put out some new material? The sky is the limit right now, as Robert Plant, he's currently working in the studios. He's getting ready to put out a new album, which should come out sometime early next year, and it's already being said that he's going to abandon those bluegrass roots, as he wants to try to go back into that rock type of atmosphere. Just tease it just a little bit, as he still has that powerful voice. He's just been dipping and dabbing into bluegrass country. So very curious to see how this is all going to play out right here, but definitely a great moment right here if you're a Led Zeppelin fan. Hey, we also got some Soundgarden news for you guys. It's really going to be a great month this year in November, as a lot of acts are going to be putting out new material. You know, we had mentioned No Doubt earlier, but let's stay on Soundgarden right now. Soundgarden has officially announced the release date of their new album that's going to be coming out, get this, November 13th. Okay, you definitely want to get ready for that new Soundgarden album. It is going to be a badass album. You know, we've been staying on top of that album ever since it was first announced that it was going to be coming out. And for those of you that are curious as far as the name of that album, in case you all had missed it, the name of the new album is going to be called King Animal, okay? And that's going to be a follow-up to the Down on the Upside album that had came out back in 1997. So can you believe it, folks? This is going to be the first new album of new material from Soundgarden that we've gotten in like 15 years. So you definitely want to get ready for that. That should be a damn good album. You can actually pre-order that album now on Amazon.com. I'm pretty sure that other outlets are also going to have it up for grabs for pre-ordering as well. From what I've been able to see, there's 13 tracks on the album right now, and it looks as if there's a deluxe edition that you can pre-order. Now, I'm not sure what is the contents of the deluxe edition, as really not that much information has been released, but as soon as we are able to get more info on it, we'll definitely share it with you all. Of course, we got to talk about Beach Boys, as the Beach Boys' Brian Wilson, he had revealed on Tumblr in a message to his fans that he had recently got lower back surgery once again because he was said to be in pain when the Beach Boys had performed at the Grammys just earlier this year, back in February. And the Beach Boys, they're getting ready to go on their tour. They're going to be celebrating 50 years, I believe it is. And Brian Wilson, he would sit up and say that he did not want to miss the tour for the world, as he loves being reunited with his bandmates, and his back had been giving him a little bit of problems, nagging little problems. So he remembered the procedure that he had got done a couple of years back, and how this time around technology has improved dramatically, where he's able to have this procedure be done, I guess, by laser. And basically he's going to be back up and running in no time. So he's doing everything he can to make sure that he's able to participate on that reunion. So for you guys that have parents that are into the Beach Boys, or hey, you might be into the Beach Boys yourself, nice little news right there. Of course, we got some Thin Lizzy news. It's not every day we get to talk about true metal, true rock right here, because this is pretty much old school right here. But get this. After 30 years, Thin Lizzy is going to record a new album of new material without their lead singer, who died tragically, Phil Lynott. That's right, in just nearly 30 years. Now, they are getting ready to go into the studio sometime next month. They're going to be in Los Angeles until the end of the month working on some new songs. And it's definitely going to be interesting right there. Now, the current lineup of Thin Lizzy, it includes Gorham, Warwick, and Johnson, along with founding member Brian Downey, longtime keyboardist Darren Warrington, and bassist Marco Mendoza. As you all remember, Lynott, the singer, he had died in 1986. At the age of 36. This will be Thin Lizzy's first new album of new material since 1983's Thunder and Lightning. So definitely a what moment that's happening right there. And in case y'all had missed it, Randy Jackson will be returning to American Idol as a judge when the show begins its 12th season next January. So looks like Simon Cowell was able to possibly keep Randy Jackson around right there. I don't know what to make of all this, but it just seems like every time you turn around, there's a lot of shakeup that's happening on that show with the judges. Let's switch it up and let's talk about Green Day, folks. Green Day is getting ready to launch their first leg tour in North America, as it's going to be coming up in November. Now, they're going to be doing this to support their trio of new albums that's going to be coming out. Remember, Uno, Dos, Tres. So far from what we are able to see, everything begins on November 26th. Now, for you guys that happen to be in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, we got you hooked up over here. You would be able to see them at the Patriot Center in Fairfax, Virginia on, looks like January 21st of next year. So you might want to mark that on your calendar right now. Again, that is January 21st, Fairfax, Virginia, Patriot Center. You'll be able to see them. For you guys in the New York area, They're going to be in Rochester, New York at the Blue Cross Arena on January 13th. Pittsburgh, hey, we got you covered. They're going to be actually playing the next day, as it'll be January 14th. It'll be playing at the Council Energy Center. So definitely some pretty solid moments right there. Of course, we'll definitely be posting this on our Facebook page for those of you that want to know when Green Day is going to be coming by your neck of the woods. So just keep cool, my babies. We got you covered on that. And in other music news that we got for you guys, or actually not really necessarily music news, depends on how you really want to look at it. But do you guys remember how we were talking about this company that had set up couple of months back, and they had created that badass, wicked Tupac Shakur hologram for the Coachella Festival? Well, true story here, and let me just make sure I set this up properly, because when I get ready to tell you guys this, you're going to be like, huh? Because it's so freaking hilarious. It turns out the same company that did this badass hologram for Tupac Shakur, and they were said to be working on an Elvis Presley hologram next, and they were working on a Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix hologram as they were working with the respected estates for that. Well, that software graphic design company had filed for bankruptcy. Can you believe that, folks? It's like, wow, where in the blue hell did all the money go, man? What the hell you mean you're filing for bankruptcy? You want to talk about fiscal financial responsibility? Yeah, I when I heard this happen, I was like, my God, what the hell happened? They definitely should have been making a killing off of those Tupac joints. It sounds like maybe they had spent too much money and too much resources, and they were just so caught up in doing this holograms. It looks like the area that they really needed help with the most wasn't with the graphics, it was with their freaking payroll books to make sure that they weren't going under. So very unfortunate news right here. It would not surprise me if maybe Steven Spielberg, James Cameron, it would not surprise me one bit if maybe one of those guys or somebody in Hollywood that took note of what all they had did with that Tupac hologram. Wouldn't surprise me if maybe they might have came to the aid and took care of their little debt, but at the same time maybe have them work exclusively with them, have them do some type of a partnership deal. So I would definitely expect this to be nipped in the bud rather quickly. We'll definitely get you guys caught up on that and let you guys know what happens with this. But if you have not seen that Tupac Shakur hologram at that Coachella Festival, Google it when you get a chance. Look it up on YouTube. It's very eerie. It's so eerie. It's downright scary. You'd swear that Tupac was actually right there. You know how you have some of those people that will always sit up and say, oh, yeah, I saw Tupac just the other day. They'll do it just like Elvis Presley. Well, yeah, exactly. It's very eerie when you see this, folks, definitely. All right, so we got some James Gandolfini news for you guys. If you guys remember Sopranos, we got some interesting news for you all. Now, check this out. James Gandolfini is going to be returning to HBO, folks, as he's going to be doing a new series for them. That's right. He's going to be doing a new series, and I believe it is not yet announced when he's going to be doing this new show. Like, as far as the premiere date, not quite seeing when it's going to be happening, but it looks like he's going to be playing a lawyer, and he gets caught up in some weird type of fiasco. You know, really, though, who cares what the storyline is? It's James Gandolfini. It's HBO. It's Mr. Tony Soprano. If he's going to be coming back to HBO and it's going to be a new show, it's got to be badass, right? Come on, let's think about it here. It's got to be badass. So I'm sure whatever he's going to be doing, hopefully, definitely be on point there. And also, we got some Doors news for you guys. As, get this, there's going to be a Live at the Brawl 68 DVD that'll be coming out on Blu-ray, digital video, and audio. as it's going to be a double LP. So this will be available for you guys to pick up in the store, and it will be available digitally. Now, this chronicles a concert that the Doors did back on July 5th, 1968. And you definitely, if you're a Doors fan, you definitely want to make sure that you add that to your collection. That's going to be pretty badass right there, folks. And other than that, folks, that is pretty much it. Let's go on ahead and let's talk about these reviews that we got for you guys. I definitely want to kick it off, and I want to talk about this new Dave Mattews Band album that came out just earlier this week or last week? I'm not really sure. But definitely a very solid album. It's called Away from the World, and this marks the first time now that the Dave Mattews Band is releasing an album of new material since the tragic death of saxophone player Leroy Moore. As you all remember, he had died due to injuries that he had sustained while riding ATV back in 2008. Looked as if he was going to be making a full recovery, but unfortunately he had died due to those injuries. Internally, it was that he was having the problems. Well, a lot of folks, they were sitting up saying, wow, how can the Dave Mattews Band regroup after something like this? And that answer would definitely come with the Away from the World album. And this album right here, folks, it would mark the first time in several years that the Dave Mattews Band would end up working again with producer Steve Lillywhite, as it was just their last collaboration was on the Before These Crowded Streets album. Now, if you remember that album had many hits. It had won Grammy Awards left and right for songs such as Crush, Don't Drink the Water. I mean, these guys were just all over the place back then. So you're kind of sitting up and you're kind of saying to yourself, well, gee, what the heck had happened here? Well, remember, folks, there was that dark period there where Dave Mattews, he had just kept dealing with loss after loss after loss, and it had hit really close to home for him, as back then he was dipping into alcohol and he was just drinking very heavily. And when they had tried to go into the studio to make their follow-up to Before These Crowded Streets, it was said to be some of the most darkest material that Dave Mattews has ever put out, because all he just kept talking about was gloom and death. And it was one of those cases where producer at the time was Steve Lillywhite, and the executives, you know, they asked the bandmates, they said, you know, well, what do you make of this album? How do you like the progression so far? And it would actually be the drummer, Carter Buford, that would step up and say, honestly, you know, we could do better than this. We need to do better. I'm not really feeling it. So they actually ended up canning that album. Now, that album would infamously be known as the Steve Lillywhite Sessions. And they pretty much parted ways with Steve Lillywhite after that. Of course, if that name Steve Lillywhite sounds familiar to you guys, that's because he has done work with U2. That's pretty much what he's well known for. When you think of U2, you think of Steve Lillywhite. I mean, he's pretty much always putting out every single album, helping them produce it. You know, he's always there. I mean, you might as well say he's a freaking U2 band member because he's just been with them for so long. So definitely a homecoming for the Dave Mattews Band to see them work with this producer again. As after recent years, it seemed like they were working with one-off producers per album. But this album right here, it definitely did not disappoint. In my honest opinion, I had the pleasure of listening to this album. God, I've listened to it at least 4 times. And this album, from beginning to end, definitely is a very solid album. I really love it. of course, I have to talk about many of the tracks that jump out there at me, as this album, it's got 11 tracks total, but if you happen to buy the deluxe edition, you get 3 bonus tracks. You don't really want to pay too much attention to that, because if you're a hardcore Dave Mattews Band fan, you usually want those songs that didn't make it to the album, right? Right. Well, you're not going to find that with the deluxe edition, as you're just going to get recycled live versions of pretty much what you just listened to with the whole crowd reaction. So you want to just dodge that deluxe edition, go right for that 11-track album. And one of the tracks that jumped out at me out of the 11 tracks, Broken Things, which is the album opener, very solid opening right there. Belly Belly Nice, that's another one. Mercy Mercy, probably one of the most beautifully well-written, soft-spoken songs that's on the album. I would not be surprised if this song did not get nominated for an award for Best Single of the Year. Definitely a very strong, emotional, powerful song right there. Gacho is another one that's pretty good. If Only, that one I was really bobbing my head to. Definitely a very solid song. Snow Outside, that was pretty much like a nice little jam session that they had right there. Definitely a very good track right there. Drunken Soldier, which closes out the album, that's another one that's very good. Overall, you can definitely listen to this album from beginning to end, but if I were to cherry pick certain songs, those would be the ones that I would pick out there. So really, you definitely cannot go wrong grabbing this album. And, we definitely got to congratulate the Dave Mattews Band, because their album went to number 1 on the Billboard 200. Thus, this makes this release, which is their 6th release, their 6th studio release album, to be able to do so, to be able to get to that number 1 on the Billboards. Currently, that record was held by the Eagles for most number 1 albums by an American band in chart history. So they are now tied with them. Of course, if you want to talk about like overall, we have the Rolling Stones, who just beat everybody, as they have 19 number 1 albums. We have Eagles, Dave Mattews Band, who I just mentioned. And, of course, we have U2 tied with Led Zeppelin at number 7. So definitely a great accomplishment right here for the Dave Mattews Band. So definitely check out that album when you get a chance. Of course, we definitely have to switch it up here and give you guys an honest review of the new Double Dragon Neon game that had came out. And here was a game right here that I surprisingly had stumbled upon one day in the marketplace. And I'm saying to myself, what the heck is this? Neon? Obviously it's an update, but what the heck is this about? So I downloaded the trial version because I wasn't really sure what to expect. And I said to myself, okay, this looks pretty badass. I'm feeling it. And pretty much, folks, if you remember that very first Double Dragon game that had came out in the 80s, then you will definitely appreciate this game right here. Now, of course, the main antagonists, Jimmy and Billy Lee, they both are back, and they are pretty much trying to save their little girlfriend. It's basically what you remember from the 80s game. So you definitely can't go wrong with this. I'm chuckling because I'm just thinking about all the freaking quarters I used to waste on the arcade machine when I was trying to play this game as a kid. So to see this reboot of this classic side-scrolling game definitely was a welcome throwback. I was just playing this for hours. I was loving it. I was playing with people online. Of course, this game is coming to us by Way4 Technologies. That's published by Majesco. They definitely did a very solid job with this game. Visually, it is very stunning. I love how this game just really brings you in, especially with the music, as one of the cool parts about this game is during the course of all the fighting, you pick up these really cool audio tracks. And these audio tracks, not only do they give you powers, but the audio tracks that you pick up, it also plays nice little throwback 80s inspired. Don't mind the little doggy there, folks. She's just chilling today. And yes, that's my little doggy barking in the background there. I know it happens. It's live. We're on the air. Who cares? Anyway, folks, yeah, it's a really bad game. The little tapes that you pick up there, you can hear throwback 80s music. It's really nice, cool touch. I definitely can't stress it enough. Check it out. Buy the game in confidence. You don't even need to get the trial version. Buy the game in confidence. You'll thank me later. It's really badass. Check it out. Of course, we also got to talk about this new Resident Evil 6 demo that came out in the marketplace just earlier this week. Now, I sat down, and this game was, like, addictive. Very freaking addictive. And, I mean, you only get to play, like, about maybe 20 minutes tops of this game, I would estimate. If you're not just tripping over the zombies, just trying to kill them, if you're just doing the objectives, just being straightforward about it, then you're actually, surprisingly, unfortunately, you're going to be done in, like, under 11 minutes. But if you just really have fun at it, the game will last about that long. It'll last about maybe 20, 25 minutes. And this was a game that I definitely was really into. Visually, it was just very stunning. Capcom, they've done another superb job with this game. And I don't want to really give anything away as far as the storyline. I would just say if you are familiar with the Resident Evil franchise, then you definitely know what this is pretty much all about. You're, in a nutshell, you're going to take out some freaking zombies. So that's all you really need to know. This game definitely is a badass. It's a welcome breath of fresh air for me because I'm so used to playing Dead Rising. And to see Capcom bust this out, I can't stress it enough, folks. You definitely want to check out this demo. And right now, it looks like you're able to play just online only. It doesn't look like you're able to just play with the AI, unfortunately. So keeping that in mind, you know, if you have a friend or even if you don't have a friend, it's still cool to just hook up with somebody randomly, and that was the cool thing for me. I was hooking up with people randomly, and we're just talking on the headsets, and we're just talking all kinds of cool stuff, and we actually ended up befriending each other. So nice little way to make a new friend, especially to get ready for the actual game release, as it's going to be dropping everywhere in North America on October 22nd. So there's some really cool stuff for you to check out right there. Of course, I can't let you guys go empty-handed. We definitely got to bring up the return of Hidden Gems. Hidden Gems is definitely a very special favorite segment of mine that I really love. And this is a segment here where I always pick something, usually out of my memory, something from my favorite personal collection that I highly recommend that you go check out. And I definitely want to recommend to you guys the Dave Mattews Band Lily White Sessions. That's going to be my first recommendation for Hidden Gems. This was an album that I unfortunately was not able to come across initially when it had dropped. I did not come across this album until about 4 years ago. And I said to myself when I was listening to it, I said, wow, are you really serious? This is a great freaking album. Why didn't this come out? And there's a reason for that, and I understood it. As if you were listening earlier, I gave you the backstory to what all had happened. But overall, it is definitely a very great album, and this is how much I hold this album in high regard. Now, back in 2000, I want to say 2 or maybe 2003 it was, Dave Mattews Band had released the album Busted Stuff, where basically they had recycled many of the songs that were from that Lily White Sessions onto it, but they gave it a more upbeat, friendlier tempo, and they just really did a very solid job just with the remixing. But I always felt that out of all the Dave Mattews Band albums that came out over the years, I always felt that the Busted Stuff album was one of the weakest ones. You could definitely groove to it, but I always felt that it was one of the weakest ones, especially when I found out what the real vision was originally. And the Lily White Sessions, for me, it's always on my iPod, as well as the other Dave Mattews Band albums, but mine is Busted Stuff. I just take key songs out of Busted Stuff and I just put it on the Lily White Sessions album. So I highly recommend, if you're going to try to check out the Lily White Session album, you definitely want to grab from the Busted Stuff album. You want to sit up and you want to grab Where Are You Going? You want to grab that one. You want to grab Captain. And you want to just grab both of those tracks and you want to make sure you put them on the Lily White Sessions album, because pretty much that's really all you need is just those two tracks, and you'll actually have a really phenomenal album on your hands. Now, if you know where to look, you'll actually be able to get this Lily White Sessions album for free. And Dave Mattews Band, they actually don't mind bootlegs and all that. They actually encourage it. It's their way of really connecting with the audience, especially when they're in a concert and they're playing something they haven't played in years and everybody knows exactly what that song is. They actually love that. So as long as nobody's trying to make a personal profit off of it, Dave Mattews Band is just fine with live bootlegs or just in general bootlegs. So you can definitely get this for free if you know how to go about finding it. That's all I'm going to say right there. Now, the other recommendation that I have for you guys to go check out is a Dee Snider movie that I had the pleasure of checking out a couple of years back. And here's what I got to tell you guys right here. We have this Dee Snider movie that had came out some years back. It's called Strangeland. Now, Strangeland is a movie about Dee Snider playing this child molester, and basically he lures teens by chatting with them in a chat room, and he lures them to his house, and he basically does what he needs to do with them, and he kills them. And this is all taking place in Colorado. And from there, folks, we just see this cop that's just basically hell-bent on catching this guy who tries to play it off like, oh, not me, I'm not doing any harm, don't pay me no mind. Well, eventually, Dee Snider's character, he goes to jail, he comes out, he tries to say that he's reformed, that he's seen the light, he's seen God, all this other stuff. And after that, you know, the murders of these young girls, it's still continuing. So the cops, they're really just looking at this guy, and they're like, it's got to be him. It's definitely one of the most underrated, B-rated movies, I feel. Definitely was a very solid performance by Dee Snider. Again, that movie is called Strangeland, and it came out back in 1998. You can definitely check it out right now on Netflix. You can check it out, I believe you can check it out on Hulu, but I know for a fact it's on Hulu. You definitely won't be disappointed. Grab that, definitely a good watch right there. That's pretty much going to do it. And I think we had a pretty solid show today. You know, originally it was supposed to be me and the lovely co-producer Tammy. It was supposed to be pre-recorded, but we had audio problems, and I actually had to do this show solo. So hopefully you guys, you definitely appreciate it, because I know nowadays I'm actually trying to get co-producer Tammy to pitch in more and more and help me out with the weekend edition. So she'll definitely be popping up from time to time a bit more when she's available. But I think I did pretty good today. A pretty solid show. We got a lot of stuff covered. I think those of you that had checked out today's show, we may be ending right here, but the conversation, it never stops. Be sure to check us out on our website at infinityOneProductions.com. You can also hit us up on Facebook at Infinity One Productions, Twitter at Infinity One Prod. And for you guys that always ask, where am I usually? It's very rare I'm actually on my own Twitter handle. As I know somebody had asked me during the week, and I definitely wanted to put this out there, it's very rare I am on my own handle. Unfortunately, I do so much legwork during the week, and I actually had some of our loyal listeners, they were like, hey, you never reply to me. It's not that I'm not replying to you on purpose. It's just I do a lot of legwork. I got to get ready for the next episode, and I'm working behind the scenes with the staff here on stuff to report on the website. So I'm not ignoring you guys. It's just I'm doing so much. It's very rare that I'm on my own Twitter handle. So I would say you go to Infinity One Prod and you mainly try to, because we're always sitting up on that one, mainly Zed, but sometimes I'll actually take the helm for a little bit and I'll actually interact with you guys on there. So you definitely want to keep that one handy. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I think we had a pretty solid show tonight. And, definitely check us out for the 100th episode. I can't believe I almost forgot to plug this. We got our 100th episode that's going to be coming up on October 23rd. And already we got lined up the famous Justin Reno that's going to be stopping by. We got hip-hop Christian rapper Scooter that's going to be coming by, help out with the show. It's going to be very solid as we're going to be celebrating our 100th episode. Make sure you join us as we have a very special contest that's going to be taking place. And I can't believe I almost forgot it as Tammy just kept plugging me in the head over and over. You got to make sure you mention the contest before you go off the air. We have a contest that's going to be happening. It's going to be beginning pretty much right now all the way up until October 23rd. And basically, this contest, the prize giveaway is going to be a copy of WWE 13 for that respected platform. Now, what's going to happen is we have a little donation tab that is on our website at Infinity One Productions, and we also have a little tab that's on Blog Talk Radio. You look us up under Blog Talk Radio. .com/the RCWR show. You click on the extras tab way at the bottom, and you'll see the donate button. All you have to do is donate $1. That's it, one funky little dollar, and you're in the contest officially. And here's the cool thing about this. At the very end, for whatever amount of money that we have from this, we will double it, and we will actually cut out a cashier's check to give to the Susan G. Coleman Foundation. I apologize if I messed up the name there, but we're going to cut out a cashier's check to Susan G. Coleman. And, it's our way of, giving back because, we got Breast Cancer Awareness Month that's actually going to be happening next month. And I double-checked with the lovely co-producer Tammy to make sure. She said, yeah, next month is Breast Cancer Month. I said, okay, well, cool. I said, well, even if it's not going to be Breast Cancer Month next month, we're still doing something that's really freaking awesome. It's for a really worthy cause. So, yeah, $1, it gets you in, okay? So we can definitely tell you you can donate with confidence, your credit card information, all that. You're going to be good. We're with PayPal. We've taken all the necessary security safeguards that's needed. You just put in $1. That's it, and you're in. So, $1 gets you in. Good luck to you. It's open right now, and we'll reveal the whole amount that we've been able to get on that 100th episode. And like I said, whatever we get at the closing of the contest, whatever amount is there, we will double it, and we will give the Coleman Foundation a cashier's check for that amount. So vote knowing, well, not vote knowing, but donate knowing that the money that you're putting in there, it's definitely going to be going towards a worthy cause. So best wishes to you. I hope you're able to win that copy, and if not, sleep knowing that, you know, the money is going towards something good. And that's pretty much going to do it, folks. I'm the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. I do hope everybody has a very good, fantastic weekend. Mad shout out to Dave that's in the chat room. He was being very active with us during the whole episode. Definitely was checking out some of the things he was saying in there. And I couldn't agree more, bro. It's definitely a really cool cause. And, yeah, $60 might be a little bit too expensive for some people as far as the games go. But, if you can swing it, you know, I don't know. But that's just me. Personally, let me say this before I go. Personally, GameFly is your best friend, okay? We're going to be on a good little break for the rest of the weekend, but we'll be coming right back at you live with a new episode of the RCWR Show, Tuesday night edition, coming at you at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern, so make sure that you're able to check that out. That's pretty much it, folks. I'm done. I'm out of here. Thank you all so much for checking out today's episode. We'll see you this Tuesday night. And as always, as I love to say, until we hear from you guys next time around, y'all be safe and y'all be kind to one another, folks. Do take care. Have a very fantastic weekend.